town sky, Lake Erie wind, old scar stitched in a second skin. We were raised on cold and fight, every heartbeat red and white. Echo in the boards, crowd breathing fire, names on the glass like a funeral pyre. This is our house, this is our sound, from the Cleveland concrete of gold. Let's go crunch, screaming till your chest caves in. Cleveland loud, we rise again. Red and white in the blood we punch, from the first face off to the final crunch. Turn the volume past the pain, Ohio hearts in the heavy rain. Every hit, every rush, Cleveland lives in the let's go crunch. Let's go crunch. We've got stories.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Let's Go Crunch podcast, part of the Land Media Group. I am Ethan Greenberg, and I'll be here tonight to bring you another great episode of the Let's Go Crunch podcast. Behind the scenes is my man, Mike Wilkes, and we will have a special guest here momentarily, Brenden Swann, and we'll get to him in just a moment. The Crunch coming in. Well, they come off of a big victory yesterday evening. They took care of business in a return to the Wolstein Center over Bridge City, Pittsburgh, 15-5. They snap a 2-game losing skid and are turning things around. 3 games left in the regular season. The next one coming up March 7th in Chicago to take on the Mustangs, and then they will round out the schedule at home on March 14th and 15th. So mark your calendars, be ready for that. So once again, Ethan Greenberg here, and let's bring in our special guest, a member of the Cleveland Crunch, one, the only, Brenden Swann.
How's it going?
It's going great. Good evening, Brenden. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Can't complain.
Well, you could. I don't know how much good it would do you, though. That's what someone always said to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, but I still complain. So
Likewise.
It's all good. So, Brenden, thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Really do appreciate it. Brenden, this is what, your 3rd season with the Crunch?
Yeah, 3rd season.
3rd season with the Crunch. Brenden Swann, if you don't already know, he is from North Royalton, a graduate from St. Edward's High School. And not only were you the captain of the soccer team for 2 years, you were also the kicker on the state championship football team your senior season. And might I add, you went to John Carroll University to play soccer. Amongst other things, you played soccer there. You played for Akron City FC, played for Cleveland SC, and outside of the Crunch, you were a brand ambassador, now inside sales representative for the Cleveland Crunch. Now, since you're around the Browns, I mean, you were a kicker. You think about trying out?
Yeah, it's crossed my mind here and there. Just maybe one day we'll get the conversation rolling, but more just a thought in the back of the head right now.
What was the longest field goal you converted in high school?
In game, 40. Our offense was so good, so powerful. We made it past the 50. Anything 4th and 6 or below, we're going for it.
It's amazing. First of all, football in Northeast Ohio, high school football, is just incredible. And over the past, I'd say, 15 years or so, the tide turned from where St. Ignatius was just a perennial powerhouse to St. Ed's just cleaning house there.
Oh, yeah. Can't complain there.
Right.
It's just a testament to the school and the culture there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little bit older, and, when I was in high school and even in college and doing broadcasts in the very late 90s, early 2001, still St. Ignatius was the king of the hill there for that time being, but now St. Ed's is the class. There, you guys are top of the class there. You got to be proud of that, right?
Oh yeah, very proud. I'm actually looking at my my helmet right now in the background. So always remind myself every day. I got my state championship ring at my work desk, and see the helmet, just remind me of how proud I am to be a part of that program and serve them for a year.
That is fantastic. That is really fantastic. Additionally, I also want to mention you are an assistant soccer coach for Walsh Jesuit High School, the boys soccer team. And Walsh Jesuit, they have very good athletic programs. I know the girls soccer team has always been excellent. How'd the boys do last year?
Yeah, last year we lost in the regional semifinal to eventual state champs Avon.
Okay. Okay.
The year before we lost in the state championship in PKs. So back-to-back seasons since I've been there, losing to the state champions kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth, but also can't hold your head low at that at all. You know, you lost to the champions.
No, definitely not. And how does that help to, as a coach, build your abilities or your outlook as a player? You can kind of take the shared experiences. Like one, you're on the side of it where you're on the field, you're in the action. The other one, you're off to the sidelines and you're barking in signals and trying to point things out. Just like, how does that help your perspective?
Yeah, definitely stuff to go through when you're on the field. It's a little more passionate, so you don't really have the time to think like a coach at times. Indoor, you're lucky to get 1 to 2 minute shifts, so you have that time, the 2-3 minute span break when you're on the bench to really collect your thoughts, see how you can impact the game, and then convert that. Similarly, from a coaching aspect, high school soccer, you could make subs pretty frequently, so you're able to pull players off real quick, talk tactics, mindset, whatever it may be, and then get them back on the pitch.
Yeah. How do you think that the way that we in the United States do soccer in high school and in college impacts how the United States performs as a country when it goes on the highest levels on an international stage, where, as you were saying, you're able to do substitutions in and out, in high school and college. The clocks run differently. I'm just curious about that and your thoughts on how that impacts the overall experience and level of play.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I feel like I could talk a while about youth soccer, high school soccer impacting players in the future. But yeah, it's just kind of a different mindset. You kind of got to look at high school soccer more interval based, 10, 15 minutes at a time. Clock stoppage is a huge one in college. You know, when a player goes down, they could throw up the X, stop the clock, whereas in pros, it's not really a thing. It gets added on. So from that aspect, you think a little more tactically, sometimes throw some thought processes down, and when you need a break, go down, ask for a sub, go down on a knee, stop the clock. From that aspect, you see that in pro soccer, you know, with people going down, embellishing and whatnot. But so I guess you do see parallels from that aspect.
The thing with players going down and embellishing, that to me, some people, I don't know. I'm going to include myself in it. It's a bit, off-putting.
Yeah, I would
You're like,
agree.
are you serious? What are you You're writhing in pain, and then when they don't stop the play, you pop up and you go.
Yeah.
You lose. You lose the Academy Award there, bud. I'm sorry. That I don't know. And also, it's like the boy who cried wolf. You lose your credibility when something actually does happen.
Right.
You know?
And we got some players in our league who like thinking that way too. I don't think too many of my crunch teammates think that way, but we got some teams we compete against who might embellish here and there.
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. Definitely some crazy stuff. So, Brenden, this is your third season with the Crunch, as I mentioned at the outset. In 9 games this season, you've got 4 goals, 6 assists, total of 10 points. Definitely having an impact on the team this season. As mentioned, the Cruncher winner last night. Everybody, if you weren't there, if you were there, giving you the recap. Big win over Bridge City, 15-5. You're 4-0 at home. It was a big night. How good was it for the team mentally to get that victory after suffering those 2 tough defeats at Toronto and at Rockford.
Yeah, it puts us back, one, in the right mindset. Let's just call it as it is. The Crunch haven't lost 2 games in a row in quite some time. Mikey said it best. After the match, you got to get back to our standard in playing Crunch soccer. So getting just a whole squad back together, beating up on Pittsburgh, who was running their mouth a bit, trying to, it's a mental thing with them. They think it's a rivalry, Pittsburgh Cleveland type of thing. They got to get integrated in the league first to be able to call it a rivalry personally. But yeah, it's nice to get back on track, get things rolling, and the offense flowing. Defense was pretty solid. I don't think they earned their goals. It was more we gave it to them in that aspect. But from there, can't complain.
Right. I mean, you talk about the defense, and they didn't necessarily. You say they didn't necessarily earn their goals. More so, you gave away some. Is that more frustrating that you gave away some than they earned them? I mean, how as a player, coach, I'm sure Coach Manfoot will have some stuff to say about that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it definitely is more frustrating. I think when you shoot yourself in the foot and the type of player you are and your quality, it's definitely you look in the mirror and you could do that better. So frustrating, but it's also encouraging to know that we just tidy up a few things here and there. It's probably 15-2 at the end of the day.
Right. And of course, obviously, some challenges are up ahead, and we'll get to those in a moment. Mikey Derizic was back on the pitch last night. He returned. He had in the first home game, the third game of the season, there was a kerfuffle, and he received a 4-game suspension. He did not travel to Rockford last week, but made his return last night, and his presence was felt. 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. And then Admir Suljevic had been injured. He comes up with a goal, 3 assists. Now he's up in 4 points. He's up to 250 career points. Piwu with 3 goals and Mutemwa with 2 goals. But it seemed like it could have been even more. What about the goalkeeper for Bridge City? Grant Glorioso. He was making some Glorioso saves. The guy was standing on his head. You guys are pelting him with shots. How frustrating is that when the goalkeeper is thwarting your efforts?
Yeah, he's a high-level goalkeeper. I mean, he played M1. I forget his college background, but he's played at high levels. And, the close to 3,000 fans who were there last night didn't really get to him, and he was able to show how good of a shot stopper he was. So just a lot of respect from him. And like you said, it could have been a lot more if they had a different keeper in net. So respect to Grant for that.
Yeah, and even, something that was, I don't know, kind of, if you were talking about the good, I guess I'll go to it this way. If you're talking about the good, the bad, and maybe the ugly wouldn't even come in there, but from last night's performance, what would you say categorize as the good, the bad, the not so good?
Yeah. First of all, the good, the highest good I could give is the fans, them coming out, the atmosphere. There's a reason why we're 4-0 at home, and it's because the fans, the environment they could create, getting behind it. So I would say that good. Being able to handle the press when they did press us at times, I felt like as a unit, we handled their press well compared to other teams who have pressed us in the past. The bad, consistency, and I would say subbing patterns. Sometimes we could find ourselves on the field too long. I know I haven't looked back at the film yet, but I could think of 2 or 3 instances where I could have gotten a shorter shift. So from that aspect, I don't think there's too many bads, to be honest with you. Maybe keeping our head at times is another negative we deal with as a roster as a whole, but nothing really too bad on my end.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to kind of go to. Mario Musa ends up getting, a red card. He gets 3 yellow cards. I believe I looked at the box sheet. It's 3 yellow cards, a red card. I guess potentially a suspension on the horizon. I know that if it's a 1 game, he normally doesn't travel, but how do you focus, or what I don't know. That's not your job per se. You're a player. I guess you would leave that to the coach to talk to the others and direct them. But I don't know. Just wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah. First off, I have a ton of respect for Musa and just the way he holds himself on the field. He plays with so much passion and energy. Granted, sometimes he doesn't channel that passion the right way at times, and it gets him into trouble. But those are guys you like being on your team and having on your side, because when it does come down to those moments where he makes a big save and lets the other player know it gets you fired up and you want to work just as hard for that. As for the red card, I didn't really see what happened. I was on the bench at the time, but I'm sure whatever the Pittsburgh player did to warrant his reaction, it was probably deserved.
Right. Okay. And someone in the chat. Thank you, everybody who is commenting. Really do appreciate it. Mike, MLISpro.com is already listing Mario as suspended 1 game. Okay. All right. That's good to know. And we got a question here. Our man, Mike, he's across the pond in the UK, tuning in late there. What do you feel that you as a team could do differently to bring the home form and performances to the road performances?
Yeah, that's a great question. Just the mentality. I think when we went to Toronto and Rockford, it wasn't our strongest side, but genuinely, I've never gone into a game with the Cleveland Crunch fearing the opponent or fearing a potential result. I can't speak for everybody on that mindset, but that's just the first thing I could think of off the top of my head. And secondly, I don't think we've been good enough in front of the net. Those last 2 games when we lost, I could think of a few chances off the top of my head, really, that we could have finished in both games.
Okay.
Especially Rockford, we left a lot of goals still out there to be desired.
Right. And we were watching the games. We were trying to watch. We were doing like a live watch along, and it seemed like we were having difficult times in those back-to-back games, Toronto and Rockford, maintaining possession and building from the back. And it wasn't necessarily, for whatever reason, maybe it was due to different lineups and people not having the same chemistry, but that seemed to be something that was a bit of an issue. Is that something that you guys have been working on as you've gone back to the drawing board and in practice?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Ethan. And when we got pressed those last 2 games, it was panic city rather than just put your foot on the ball, be composed. I pride myself on being good in possession. In the last 2 away games, I personally wasn't good enough, and I know others could speak up to that. So Antonio sat us down Tuesday. We talked it out, and the last 2 training sessions prior to Bridge City was dealing with pressure, pressing the opponent, and playing out with composure rather than just getting it out to fear the press.
Right. No, that's great to hear. I mean, I love hearing these things, obviously seeing it on the field. And last night, I mean, at the Wolstein Center, the team looked a completely different team. It was a complete squad, and it just looked like what you did earlier in the season in terms of really being dominant, in every facet of the game. Your next matchup is at Chicago, and so just so fans know, right now, the only team, at least as of this moment, that has clinched a playoff spot, a trip to Las Vegas, is Toronto. Nobody in the South Conference Division has locked their spot up yet, but we are in the pole position to lock up a spot. I don't know exactly the scenario here, so I do apologize whether it's a tie or not a tie, even getting 1 point, if that's enough to catapult us or not. But currently, folks, if you're looking in the standings, the Crunch sit second with 22 points behind Toronto. Toronto locked it up at 9-0-0. No overtime losses. They've got 27 points. Chicago is right behind us, though, with 15 points. Earlier in the season, this was the home opener for the Crunch. It was the Crunch won rather handedly, 10-1. But of course, there was the fracas at the end of the match. Where do you think this team is? These 2 teams are now compared to then?
Yeah. Chicago always travels a little weaker than they do at home. I just from watching the film, their Toronto match, and then the squad they brought here. So I expect a much better opponent in Chicago. And as far as us, we've gone through the roller coaster of the season, and we're in gut check mode. We can't really drop points. Mentality is that way, and that's really how it should have been from the start. But got a little too lackadaisical, and we let it slip a bit. So from that aspect, I would say both teams have probably grown into the season. And Chicago is just a tough place to play in general. If you haven't been there, they have a loud car horn and some raucous fans. So they create a good atmosphere there. And Chicago's a hotbed for talent. So it'll be a good matches next weekend.
Now, I wasn't watching this iteration of Chicago, the Mustangs. I was actually the other day. I was flipping around YouTube. I was watching some old Cleveland. I think it was it the Crunch or was it the Force playing the Chicago Sting?
Okay.
Watching some old side. How familiar were you with like the prior iteration of the Crunch? I know you would have been a lot younger and may not remember much, if any of it, before they ceased operation, and then obviously that now in this current form.
Yeah, I too young to really know too much of that era. I have an older brother, so he had an autograph from the Dores. Hector was my coach at JCU for 2 seasons, so being able to bond over stuff like that and tell him like my mother was a big fan and back in the day when he was a player, so just being able to give him little anecdotes like that was pretty cool to have that experience.
That is definitely cool, and I'm so sorry. Now you've got at least one, if not more, teammates that were at John Carroll with you, correct? Or also played
Yeah, Aiden Bozak, he was a year below me. Lotion, or I guess Connor Robinson, the year above me. I'm not sure if there's anybody else.
What's Jacob
Boban, obviously, but Boban and Liam, they're
Liam, and
fellas,
and we were talking. I think we were talking to Liam on the podcast about the phone call he got from Hector or from John Carroll, and he really didn't know who it was. And his mom was, I believe, if I'm getting the story correct, I believe his mom heard and was like, what, and kind of saying, hey, no, go there, and so on and so forth. It was pretty funny. But yeah, it's really nice to see some of the a new generation of indoor soccer fans in Cleveland. And how nice has it been to be, as you've been talking so brilliantly and so not kindly about the atmosphere at the Wolstein Center, just that experience versus playing at the Sportsplex.
Yeah, Sportsplex was fun. It was a little more grassroots. Felt like not non-league football in the UK or England, where it's just 1,000 or whatever the capacity was fans, which felt like a little more fan experience. You get to run into the walls, pound the glass with people, whereas the Wolstein is a little more professional base. We can't really have the true fan interaction like we did at the Wolstein, but everybody's a little more comfortable. Whoever wants to come to the games can get to the game. So I see both sides of it and really enjoyed both experiences.
Right. And we've talked about this with the other fellas on the podcast, but just adapting from the larger atmosphere at the Wolstein Center, and then go, even though you practice at the Sportsplex, and then you go on the road, and most teams are playing in smaller venues such as like the Sportsplex. How much and how long does it take to adapt on a game by game basis?
Yeah, every game in this league is different. Pitch size, goal size, the quality of the turf, whatever it may be. So you kind of have to take every game differently. As far as like Sportsplex, if we're playing at home and it hits the top in Sportsplex, we're playing through it. If we're in Chicago, if it hits the top, we're going to stop it because Chicago has a net up there. So it's really just going back to paying attention to little details like that, having guys in the locker room who are experienced, like Ryan Minnick sending out hey, I watched the film. I know this surface is AG, and then everybody's pulling up to training with the knobs. Um, so I don't know if that answered your question
No,
exactly,
it
but
really does. That's a fantastic answer. I like the extra insight there, that you are watching the film and you're looking at these things and you see those little things, such as the netting. We were watching that game at Rockford and we were noticing I think a ball hit the netting. There was lots of dust. We said that was probably not good for allergies. We were thinking, hey, maybe you should clean up the dust there, folks. We're gonna have to, get some extra maintenance up in there.
yeah.
Just kidding, of course. There. The matchup with the Mustangs is not this coming week. It's in 2 weeks. Um, Having an extra week, is that a good thing or a bad thing? You get back to winning, and now you got an extra week in between to be, to go play again.
Yeah. I personally enjoy it. I think it's a longer season. Granted, we're only playing on the weekends. Just the way the schedule shook out to Toronto and then Rockford back-to-back weekends, it's tough on the bodies, and we have careers outside of the crunch too, so it's a lot of sacrifice the last month or so. So just being able to have that mental reset for the weekend. But to your point, yeah, it is. We did just gather some momentum, so it's super important these next 2 trainings we have to carry on the momentum, keep high intensity at training, knowing we're going to have that weekend off to relax. So that's where guys need to step up. Bobby, DJ, leaders in the team, the clubhouse, really keep us in check in times like this.
Right. And in terms of the atmosphere in Chicago, you mentioned the car horn and so on and so forth. You guys pump in crowd noise or do anything to try to create that atmosphere just to get you in the right mindset? Is there anything you do during training such as that?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I definitely have heard of stuff like that. We don't do it on our end, just from the fact of we've had guys play at the M1 level or high level in college, pro, whatever they played before. So it's nothing we haven't really seen per se, but it is always when you hear that first car horn blare next to you, it's just you remind yourself like you're in this environment.
Geez, I know when I'm driving, if I hear a car horn out of nowhere, I'm turning all around and I'm all shook up. So I couldn't imagine playing. The only thing I can come up with, which is not even anywhere close to that, is as a middle schooler playing basketball and going down on a fast break for a layup, and one of my good friends on the other team screaming something as I went up for a layup and completely missing the shot. So that's about as close as I can come, which is nothing really, compared to that.
That's fair.
How do you? I mean, we talked a little bit earlier about your experiences as a player and translating that to coaching. How do you approach things, or what are you looking forward to going into next season at Walsh Jesuit and anything else?
Yeah, definitely. Playing in the Open Cup qualification this fall with Akron City.
Oh, that'll be fantastic.
Just getting that experience in high pressure environment again. And Walsh, we're always going to have big time games. We have a pretty hard schedule. So just getting that experience back into my feet, and then being able to translate over that to them, like getting your 5-10 seconds of rest when you're at your spot.
Right.
Locking back into your mental state and being able to be consistent to that 80 minutes in high school, but whatever, whether you're a 10-minute player or an 80-minute player, you just got to be composed 24/7. So that's one thing I am looking forward to getting in front of back in the group and kind of coaching that into them again.
And yes, to the question here, is that outdoors? Yes, Mike, that is. That's because Akron City, that's part of the USL 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's Leviathan, and then Cleveland SC or Cleveland FC or SC. I had that up here somewhere, but the Cleveland SC, and then soccer is booming in Cleveland right now. supposed to have and anticipate the MLS Next team and the WPSL Pro. I mean, how great is that? And how great is you got the World Cup coming up too, to keep building the momentum there.
Yeah, it's everything that I've thought of as a kid, being able to one play for an organization in my city, and a goal I had as a young kid to help grow the sport in my area, and I'm watching big figures above me doing that and carrying out the goals I had. So even just playing a small part as a player or helping Leviathan and Akron City get to that aspect of more regularly talked. I think when I was a kid going to AFC Cleveland games, it was cool atmosphere, but it was not what it should have been at the time. So now the growth the last 10, 15 years of soccer in Cleveland, you're starting to see Akron City get over 1,500 fans. Leviathan, I'm hearing, are going to have some close to sold out games this summer. So from that aspect, it's so cool to see and be a part of and experience as a fan here shortly.
Yeah, I mean that's great. And how do you think about excuse me, the building up of soccer in Northeast Ohio in the United States, as we try to move, forward on the global stage?
Yeah. The first thing from that is just making soccer readily available for everybody in all economic areas of the country. I think Ohio City SC, Noah Tomer and whoever he's partnered with do a really good job of Cleveland of getting into those areas, creating soccer for everybody. So just being kind of creating like a entrepreneurial mindset of soccer. How can you grow the game? How could you do more for your city? Thinking like that just helps the greater good. And we have more people popping up, whether it's grassroots or getting into the corporation level with that mindset. And hopefully in 10, 15 years, we have national teams that are competing for more than just Gold Cups and Copa Americas. And it'll be a result of people on the ground floor right now.
Do you think that the way that the soccer community or the way we do our levels of sports could benefit from a different model? Over in England in the Premier League, you've got academies and you identify talent and you bring them in and you're making them part of that, as opposed to here, you're at your high schools and then you've also got your travel teams. And it's kind of cost prohibitive from what I gather and understand. It's not readily available when you're trying to be the best of the best and you're being, maybe that's the direction you have to go. How much does that hurt, the prospects?
Yeah, the model needs a shift. I wish I was more educated to be able to express a model that I think it should be. Knowing kind of just the academy background, you have the MLS teams that are paying for the academy players to play, and
Okay.
then the non-MLS academies are having to come out of pocket for players. So just from that aspect alone, we're just losing a lot of talent through the weeds. I know NFL drafts around the corner. People say the scouts will find you, talent will get seen. In the soccer industry, I don't think that's the truth, especially in America. So just a reform of how we think, it could go a really long way for soccer in America.
Yeah, I think the World Cup is going to be very important again in continuing the energy and revitalizing. A good showing from the United States will certainly help that. I know it did back in '96, was it? I believe it was '96. My brain is foggy. I believe it was not. We hosted the '96 World Cup, right?
That checks out. I
I
know
knew it was either '92 or
96 or 92, one of
96
those.
or 92, and I apologize for my fogginess here, but anyway, so yeah, this is going to be good stuff, and I'm sure they'll keep you busy down with the Browns. Are you going to be busy promoting the Brazil versus Egypt international game?
Yeah, so I'll probably be working that event,
Okay.
and just going back to like making soccer available to people. The Cleveland and the Haslams unfortunately couldn't get the World Cup here, so the next best thing is to get friendlies in this city, and we'll see an economic rise from that, as well as just the normal people who might not get to see soccer on Peacock, Paramount, etc. now have the option to get first class, world class players in their hometown.
Yeah, and I mean, in the Columbus Crew, they're doing a fantastic job as well, and the MLS season just kicked off, so good, lots of good soccer to be seen, right?
Oh yeah.
All right, Brenden. Well, I really appreciate you being with us here this evening, and we're going to let you go enjoy the rest of your night. So once again, wait a second. We've got an answer here. Mike from the UK, 94. I got my years all off there. Thank you, sir. I appreciate this guy. He's the best. We've turned him into a Crunch. He was already a Cleveland everything fan from all the way over in England. We've turned him into a Crunch fan too. So
Nice. Love to hear that.
He's a good follow. He follows everybody. It is fantastic. So once again, Brenden, thank you so much for being with us. Want to thank everybody who was along on the chat. Want to thank our man behind the scenes, Mike Wilkes. And for Brenden Swann, I'm Ethan Greenberg, and you've been tuned in to the Let's Go Crunch podcast, part of the Land Media Group.